The universe doesn't waste its fire on the weak. Only the fiercest storms carry the lightning that changes everything. Let that burn in your mind. You're not here to blend in or to play small. You're a force that refuses to be broken, even when the world tried to shatter you into pieces. The life you're living, it's not for the faint-hearted or the easy-going. It's a battlefield where only those with steel in their veins survive. This is the assignment no one asked for, but only the chosen can handle. Because you didn't just face the impossible, you made it your playground. Most people settle for comfort and safety. They build safe little lives, avoiding the heat that forges legends. But you were thrown into the fire without a manual, hammered on by betrayal, and pushed to limits that would crush ordinary souls. Yet here you are, still standing, still glowing, still rewriting the rules. This isn't luck or accident. It's the universe's way of telling you that you're meant to carry a weight others can't even imagine. Studies show that trauma can either destroy or transform. For you, it was the latter. You didn't just survive the chaos, you rose above it. Your scars are not signs of weakness, they're medals of war, proof that the impossible was never out of your reach. So, if you've ever felt like the world was against you, that your path was too twisted and harsh to be real, know this: you were chosen for this exact storm. The assignment laid on your shoulders is heavy because it's designed to separate the real from the fake, the weak from the unstoppable. And if you're reading this, it means you're still here, still fighting, still winning in silence. Now, don't just let this message pass. Pay it back by pressing that like button and subscribing. Spread this message to those souls who need to hear it, because it's on all of us to light up the darkness. The truth is, your life's story didn't start with an easy introduction. There was no gentle beginning, no soft landing. Instead, you were thrown straight into chaos, a world that doesn't care about fairness or pity. Friends turned into foes. Hope felt like a distant dream, and every day was a test of your strength. But you, the chosen one, you didn't fold, you didn't run. You stood your ground and built resilience from every blow. Your journey isn't a tale of luck or coincidence. It's a battle plan written by the universe itself, forged through trials that would break others. You were never meant to live a normal life or follow a safe path. Your mission is bigger, heavier, and more dangerous than anyone around you can understand. You carry the blueprint of something no one else can build, a legacy that will outlast every moment of pain you've faced. Being chosen means embracing the chaos and turning it into power. It means walking through fire and coming out not just alive, but unstoppable. Your life isn't just a series of hard moments, it's a revolution in motion. And though the world tried to stop you, here you are, glowing brighter than ever, proof that the impossible is possible. No one said this would be easy. No one handed you a script or a map. But that's the point. You're the author of your own story, the warrior in a fight that others don't understand. This assignment is heavy because it's meant to be. It's not for the weak, not for the faint, but for the chosen, the ones who turn trials into triumph and pain into purpose. So hold your head high. The universe didn't pick you by mistake. It chose you because you are fierce, relentless, and made for the impossible. And now it's time to own that power and keep walking forward, no matter what comes next. So before we go any further, pause for a second. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. The universe doesn't send messages like this to just anyone. It finds the ones who've walked through fire and still kept their purpose alive. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you've felt that silent war over your life. and you know you were built for more. Because what's coming next isn't surface-level fluff. It's truth, raw and real. And if you truly are the chosen one, you'll feel it pulling you deeper. Now let's get into it, step by step. Number 1. You took the hit that would have buried most and still walked out unbroken. The universe aimed to break you. What it didn't know was that you came battle-ready. Let that sit with you for a second. You weren't just handed a tough life. You were targeted. While others were busy dreaming, you were out here dodging betrayal like bullets, carrying emotional weight that would have buried most people 6 feet under. And yet, you're still here. That alone should tell you something. You're not average. You're not ordinary. You're one of the rare few built to carry the kind of pressure that crushes normal minds. The enemy didn't attack you because you were weak. It attacked you because even in your quiet, you were a threat. A walking, breathing reminder that true power doesn't scream. It survives. It grows in silence, and it wins while bleeding. You see, people ask, why me? Why does my life feel like a constant war zone while others coast through with ease? Here's the answer. Because the assignment over your life isn't some watered-down version of success. It's not about fame, comfort, or surface-level peace. Your path is about impact, and impact requires pain, pressure, and power. You were born to disrupt the system, to expose the fake, and walk out carrying something real. And that kind of destiny doesn't come wrapped in pretty packaging. No, the universe didn't just throw storms at you for fun. It sent chaos your way to shape you into the weapon it needed. While others cried about inconvenience, you were learning to breathe through catastrophe. While they broke over small betrayals, you were digesting deep betrayals from people who claimed to love you. And still, you rose. Here's the ugly truth most can't face. The reason they can't understand your life is because their lives were never built for this kind of depth. They're walking on roads you paved with your pain. They're mimicking strength they never had to earn. But you paid full price. You didn't just wake up with resilience. You earned it through nights that nearly stole your soul. And still, you kept going. You're the type that doesn't beg for a way out. You become the way through. That's what separates you from the masses. Most people would have tapped out on chapter 2, but you wrote the whole damn book with blood, sweat, and silence. You turned pain into poetry. You made suffering your stepping stone, and every time life tried to bury you, it forgot. You were a seed. Let's talk about the rage, the righteous kind, the one that builds when you know you didn't deserve the cards you were dealt, but you play the hell out of them anyway. That rage isn't bitterness, it's purpose sharpening itself. It's your inner fire refusing to die no matter how many times the world tried to blow it out. And yes, sometimes you wanted to quit. Sometimes the silence felt like a scream. The betrayals cracked your trust in everything. The isolation made you question your own worth. But every time, you chose to rise. Maybe not loudly, maybe not with fanfare, but you got back up. And that's something no one can fake. You lived what others only post about. So when people look at you now and wonder why you carry a certain energy, why your presence alone demands respect, it's because you've been through battles they wouldn't have survived. You've lost pieces of yourself and still came back whole. You've wept in private and walked out like nothing touched you. That's not fake. That's fortified. That's what being chosen really looks like. They called you too intense, too much, too different. Of course they did. Your very existence exposes the fragility of theirs. You made peace with what they run from. You mastered the dark and walked with it until it became part of your light. That kind of strength terrifies people because it can't be copied, only earned. You were never soft by accident. Your softness was strategy. The world needed to believe you were harmless, so when you struck, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, it came like a lightning bolt, swift, quiet, fatal to lies. That's why you were chosen, because your soul carries weight, because your vision sees past illusion, because your presence, even silent, is a disruption to everything false. And let me make one thing clear. This isn't about perfection. This is about endurance. You didn't win every battle, but you showed up for every one. You weren't fearless. You were courageous enough to act in spite of fear. That's what real strength looks like. And most, they never even get close. So the next time doubt creeps in, the next time your mind whispers, maybe I'm not cut out for this, you remind yourself, the very fact that you're still here proves the opposite. You weren't assigned this life because you were expendable. You were assigned it because you're unshakable. The universe doesn't build castles on sand. It builds them on bedrock. And you are that bedrock. Chosen, hardened, unbreakable. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them laugh at your silence. What they don't know is you've already survived the kind of pressure that would have made them disappear. You're not just living, you're thriving after spiritual war. You're not just healing, you're becoming the medicine others didn't know they needed. And you're not done yet, not even close. Because this assignment, it's not over. The next level will be even heavier. But don't get it twisted. That's not punishment. That's proof. Proof that you already carried the impossible and made it look effortless. Proof that the universe trusts you to do what most wouldn't even dare to try. And if that isn't power, what is? Now breathe that in. Let the fire build. Because you didn't come this far to stop. You didn't carry all that pain just to live a quiet life. You were made to roar. You were made to rise. And everything coming against you now, it's just confirmation. You're the chosen one. And the assignment over your life, it was never for the weak. It was built for the unshakable. It was built for you. Number 2. They didn't want your success. They wanted your mind in pieces. They weren't trying to stop your rise. They were trying to hijack your mind, fracture your spirit, and leave you standing like a king with no kingdom, a warrior with no will. Let that punch you in the soul. This was never about success. It was about survival, internal survival. Your enemies didn't care about your money, your dreams, or your goals. They wanted your sanity. They wanted your clarity. Because if they could invade your mind, twist your thoughts, and make you doubt yourself, they'd win without ever throwing a punch. And they almost did, didn't they? They played the long game. It wasn't direct attacks, it was whispers, gaslighting, manipulations dressed as concern. They used your compassion against you. They pretended to support you just long enough to drain you. They didn't want to defeat you. They wanted you to defeat yourself. Because what's more tragic than a chosen one who loses their own mind? See, here's the part nobody talks about. The real battlefield isn't out there. It's in here, in your head. That's where the war has always been. While others chased promotions and applause, you were fighting to keep your grip on reality, battling invisible enemies, wondering if the heaviness was just life, or something darker trying to dismantle you from the inside out. Why does everything feel so heavy? Why do I keep overthinking every little thing? Why do I feel like I'm in a war I can't explain to anyone? Because you were, and still are. This assignment over your life, it wasn't about external success. That's a byproduct. No, the real mission was deeper. It was psychological endurance, spiritual stamina, mental sovereignty. The real flex wasn't getting the bag or building the brand. The real flex was not losing your mind when everyone around you wanted you to question your worth, your intuition, your truth. Do you know how dangerous it is to be mentally unbreakable in a world designed to keep you distracted, anxious, and numb? That's why they came for your peace. That's why your rest was attacked. That's why silence felt like punishment and overthinking became your second language. Because the system doesn't fear loud rebels, it fears the quiet ones who keep their minds clear under pressure. You weren't paranoid, you were perceptive, that gut feeling you had about people. It wasn't anxiety, it was accuracy. You weren't losing it, you were waking up, and waking up in a world that feeds off delusion. That's painful, but necessary. Let's get brutally real for a second. This mental warfare you endured, it wasn't random, it was targeted, because when you carry the kind of mind that can decode lies, discern energy shifts, and predict betrayal before it hits, you become a problem to every force that thrives on confusion. They couldn't outsmart you, so they tried to unravel you. And yet, you didn't fold. You held on when sleep became a stranger. You stayed grounded when your mind raced through worst-case scenarios every night. You didn't break when trust turned to trauma and your memories became minefields. You did something most people never do. You learned how to sit with your chaos and not let it eat you alive. That's mastery. That's mental warfare survival, and people will never fully understand how brutal that is. It's easy to celebrate someone's success. It's easy to clap for the glow-up. But what about the nights where the only thing you accomplished was not giving up on yourself? What about the mornings you woke up and chose not to spiral even when your brain begged you to? No one sees that part, but that's the part that made you chosen. The world will tell you success is money, titles, fame, but if you've ever come back from mental hell, if you've ever rebuilt your mind from rubble, if you've ever found peace in the middle of emotional war, you've already done the impossible. You didn't just protect your mind, you reclaimed it. You chose healing over hiding. You chose presence over panic. You chose truth over trauma. That's power. Quiet, steady, indestructible power. And yes, sometimes you doubted yourself. Sometimes your mind felt like a prison. Sometimes it felt like you were drowning in thoughts with no lifeline in sight. But you found one anyway, or better yet, you became the lifeline. They tried to break your mind because they knew that if they failed, you'd become something no lie, no fake, no manipulator could ever touch. And now, you're not the same. You walk different, think sharper, feel deeper, because you earned this mind. It wasn't given, it was forged in sleepless nights, quiet panic, and endless inner battles. You're dangerous now, not because you're loud, but because you know. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, and thought too far ahead. You can no longer be fooled by smiles hiding daggers or praise laced with poison. You hear what's not said. You feel what others try to hide, and that's why they fear you now, even if they pretend not to. This is what it means to be chosen, to walk through mental fire and come out holding wisdom no school could ever teach. You didn't just win the war, you understood it. You now know that peace isn't passive, it's violent in its own way, because to stay calm when everything around you is chaos, that's a spiritual flex. That's warfare turned into wisdom. That's pain turned into prophecy. And here's the final truth. This assignment on your life, it wasn't a punishment, it was a purification. The universe didn't try to kill you, it tried to refine you. The attacks weren't to destroy you, they were to test how much you could carry before you snapped. And when you didn't snap, you became unstoppable. They'll never understand how much it took just to stay sane. But they don't need to. You understand it. You lived it. You conquered it. And now you own every piece of yourself they tried to steal. Your mind is no longer a battlefield. It's a weapon, a fortress, a kingdom. And the enemy, still confused how you're even breathing. But we know, because you're the chosen one, and the assignment over your life wasn't about applause, it was about surviving the war in your head. And you did, flawlessly, brutally, quietly. And now you're untouchable. Number 3. You were sent to burn down what others were too scared to even whisper about. The first one through the wall always gets bloody, but that's the one who sets the whole system on fire. You weren't born into peace. You were born into patterns, dysfunction wrapped in tradition, silence passed down like family heirlooms, trauma hidden behind polite smiles, fake prayers, and unspoken rules. You were the one who cracked the code, and because of that, you were hated for what you exposed, not for what you did. See, people don't fear monsters, they fear the ones who name them. And that's what you did. You walked into rooms heavy with denial and spoke truth. You dared to ask, why are we still doing this? You questioned traditions that served no one but the oppressors within. You saw the lies wrapped in legacy, and instead of staying silent, you cut the cord. You were sent to end cycles, not because you were perfect, but because you were brave enough to face what entire bloodlines refused to touch, brave enough to stand in the middle of generational wreckage and say, "This ends with me." That kind of courage doesn't come without pain. You were shunned, isolated, blamed. They called you dramatic, rebellious, disrespectful, but deep down, they knew you were right. Your truth hit too hard because it unmasked what they spent years pretending didn't exist. And when the mask falls, the shame rises. Want to know why your journey felt so lonely? Because healing is exile when dysfunction is home. You're not the black sheep. You're the escape artist, the one who saw the pattern and refused to play along. And that's a threat, not just to people, but to systems. You disrupt every room you enter, not by yelling, but by existing. Your presence alone makes the fake uncomfortable. That's the cost of truth in a world addicted to lies. Even greats like Malcolm X and Maya Angelou carried this assignment. They didn't just tell stories, they confronted systems. They shattered myths that kept people comfortable in their oppression. You are in that same lineage, not by fame, but by function. You were sent to tear down walls, and the pain you endured was the sound of bricks falling. So next time they try to guilt you into silence, remember, you were never meant to blend in with what you were born to break. You're not just surviving a legacy, you're rewriting it. This isn't rebellion, it's revolution. Number 4, you did what the privileged couldn't stomach. You faced the fire while they perfected their masks. It's easy to look perfect when you've never had to bleed in public. Let's get one thing straight. What you did takes a kind of courage most will never know. While others hid behind curated images, family names, and fake peace, you walked straight into your breakdown, head high, heart shattered, but still standing. You didn't have the luxury of silence. You didn't get to hide the war you were fighting inside. Life didn't give you a mask. It gave you a mirror. And you faced it. All of it. You cracked wide open in front of people who didn't understand the hell you were crawling out of, and they judged you, mocked you, whispered behind your back. But while they were perfecting performance, you were perfecting healing. While they preserved their image, you were reconstructing your identity from ruins. You turned pain into power and power into purpose. See, privilege isn't always about money. It's about emotional safety. It's about the freedom to ignore your wounds because no one ever forced you to face them. You didn't have that privilege. You were thrown into your healing. No backup, no applause, just raw breakdowns and a will to not let the darkness eat you alive. Most people fear the truth about themselves. They'd rather wear their trauma like designer, flashy but untouched. But you wore your scars out loud, not for attention, but for freedom. And that terrified them. Because when you heal publicly, you expose their denial. You make silence look like the real disease. You make hiding look like cowardice. You built a blueprint out of your breakdowns. You created a map from your mess. You didn't just survive. You documented your healing so others could find their way out too. That's legacy. That's leadership. That's what the privileged never had the guts to do. Want proof? Look at history. Look at Frida Kahlo, painting her pain, not covering it. Look at Tupac, writing truth into verses while bleeding on the track. These weren't perfect people. They were real people who used their struggle as a weapon against silence, just like you. So next time someone side-eyes your vulnerability, let them, because vulnerability isn't weakness, it's warfare, and you've been fighting with your soul bare and your truth untamed. That's what makes you chosen. Not that you were loud, but that you were real. And in a world full of cowards dressed like kings, real is rare, and rare is unstoppable. Number 5, your spirit was wired for roads that didn't exist, so you built them from scratch. They followed footsteps, you followed fire. Let's be brutally honest, your journey scared people because it didn't make sense. No guidebook, no mentor holding your hand, no map passed down through safe tradition. While others were born into paths already paved, you were dropped into the middle of nowhere with nothing but your spirit screaming directions no one else could hear. You didn't inherit a legacy, you became one. Most people don't know what it means to walk blind into the unknown and still trust the pull. They live lives scripted by others, parents, institutions, religion, society. They follow blueprints like loyal machines. But you were called to destroy the blueprint and build something completely new. And that's terrifying to them, because deep down they know they never had the courage to go where you've gone. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a trend. This was internal warfare, your instincts battling your fear, your soul navigating through fog, your pain decoding signs from places no logic could reach. You moved based on whispers the world couldn't hear, visions the average mind would have ignored. And even when nothing made sense, even when you were surrounded by critics and doubt, you still moved. That's supernatural wisdom, that's soul navigation, that's spiritual GPS locked onto a destination your bloodline never touched. You became the map for people who never had one. You walked through wilderness that others feared to even name. You made direction out of confusion. While others waited for permission, you became the permission. And that rattled the comfortable, because when you move without needing validation, when you trust something higher than approval, you shake the ground beneath those too scared to move at all. Think about Harriet Tubman. No map, no army, just vision. Think about Nikola Tesla. He heard frequencies the world laughed at. Think about all the chosen ones history ignored until their impact couldn't be erased. You're built from that same cloth. People didn't understand you because you weren't meant to be understood. You were meant to be followed, felt, and feared. You didn't walk a path, you forged one. Through betrayal, loneliness, silence, and signs, only your soul could translate. That's what separates you from those who simply exist. So the next time they ask, "Who do you think you are?" answer with fire in your chest. I'm the one who went where you wouldn't and returned with what you'll never reach. Number 6. You were isolated not to break, but to be sharpened where no one could corrupt you. The universe hid you not because you weren't ready, but because they weren't worthy of what you were becoming. Let's kill the lie right now. You weren't rejected. You were removed, pulled away, separated, not because you were weak or broken, but because what was growing inside of you couldn't afford contamination. Isolation wasn't exile, it was sacred strategy. While others saw it as loss, the universe saw it as a security measure. You were never meant to be planted in soil that couldn't nourish your greatness. Read that again. You didn't lose people. You were rescued from the wrong ones. The doors that slammed in your face, blessings in disguise. The friends who ghosted, the family that doubted, the rooms that made you feel invisible. That wasn't rejection. That was divine concealment. Because real power doesn't grow in crowds. It grows in the quiet, in the dark, in the secret spaces where no one is clapping, no one is watching, and no one is around to poison what's pure. Think about this. Weapons aren't forged in public. They're crafted in fire, in silence, in isolation. You were being sharpened, hardened, tempered. While the world partied and posted, you were becoming something they couldn't fake, becoming something they couldn't copy, becoming something too dangerous to be seen too early. They thought your silence meant defeat. They thought your solitude was punishment. What they didn't see was that the universe was protecting its most powerful piece. You weren't lonely. You were under divine security clearance. Even the greats were hidden before they rose. Look at Bruce Lee, isolated, misunderstood, mocked for his vision. Look at Malcolm X, refined in prison, not at press conferences. Look at artists, visionaries, revolutionaries. They were always pushed to the fringes before they changed the center. You're no different. They couldn't be trusted with your potential. They didn't have the eyes to see it. And if the universe had allowed you to be embraced too early, they would have watered you down, reshaped you, used you. So instead, you were pulled into the wilderness, where your voice got clearer, your discernment got sharper, and your identity stopped depending on applause. So now, when people come back and ask, "Where have you been?" you look them dead in the eye and say, "I was becoming the version of myself that couldn't be manipulated." This wasn't punishment, it was protection. It was refinement. It was war preparation. And now, you're no longer hidden. You're ready. Number 7. Your success is the loudest revenge against every lie you were raised to believe. They programmed you to shrink, but every boundary you set was a glitch in their system. You weren't just healing, you were rebelling, not with fists, but with truth, not with noise, but with clarity. Your success isn't just a personal win, it's vengeance against a legacy of emotional slavery, silent suffering, and invisible chains passed down like tradition. They told you to be quiet, to stay small, to not rock the boat. to smile while drowning, to play along with generational pain like it was a family recipe. But you flipped the script. You exposed the rot beneath the rituals. You questioned the "this is just how it is" mindset that kept generations trapped in emotional poverty. You shattered every unspoken contract that said, "Suffer in silence so others can stay comfortable." You were never the difficult one. You were the awake one. While your family worshipped image and legacy, you worshipped truth. While they avoided hard conversations, you became the conversation, and you paid for it. The price was high: rejection, gaslighting, isolation. They called you disloyal, ungrateful, even crazy. But that's what always happens when you refuse to keep bleeding quietly for the sake of appearances. Here's the truth they never wanted to admit: you were the brave one. Because breaking generational patterns is spiritual warfare. It's dragging shame into the light. It's telling the truth in a house where truth has always been a threat. And you didn't just tell it, you lived it. Your healing wasn't soft, it was a riot. Your peace wasn't quiet, it was a revolution. Every boundary you set was a barricade against emotional manipulation. Every time you chose self-respect over family approval, you broke a curse. Every moment you honored your truth instead of playing your role, you became the chain breaker. And now, your success, the wholeness, the healing, the purpose is proof that the cycle ends with you. Look at Oprah, look at Viola Davis, look at people who clawed their way out of generational pain and built empires from emotional wreckage. That's not just success, that's sacred rebellion. That's choosing freedom over legacy. That's vengeance against every lie, every wound, every silencing that told you you're not enough. You didn't just win, you recoded the family blueprint. You weren't chosen to fit in, you were chosen to rebuild from the ruins. And your healing, that's the loudest vengeance of all. Number 8. You were never too much. They were just too shallow to hold depth. Your intensity wasn't a flaw, it was a mirror, too honest for those still hiding from their own reflection. Let's make this crystal clear. You were never the problem. You weren't too loud, too emotional, too deep, too intense. You were just too real for people still addicted to pretending. And in a world that rewards fake smiles, shallow connections, and emotional numbness, your raw truth felt like a threat. Your sensitivity was never weakness, it was spiritual precision. You could read the energy in a room before a word was spoken. You felt lies beneath perfectly rehearsed sentences. You sensed betrayal before it unfolded. You weren't paranoid, you were tapped in, and that terrified them. People called you too much because you forced them to confront what they buried. Your emotional depth made their avoidance uncomfortable. Your passion made their apathy look lazy. Your honesty revealed their masks. They couldn't stand you because in your presence they couldn't hide from themselves. You were built for truth, programmed for passion, wired to feel. That's not dysfunction, that's design. Look around. The ones who changed the world were never just enough. They were too much for their time, too loud, too bold, too unfiltered. James Baldwin, too outspoken. Nina Simone, too honest. Prince, too free. These weren't just artists or thinkers, they were disruptors, just like you. And yes, it hurt. It still does sometimes, being labeled dramatic, being silenced, being told to tone it down. You started questioning your own essence. You wondered if maybe, just maybe, you were too much. But here's the truth, you were never too much. They were too emotionally malnourished to handle abundance. They were too shallow to hold depth, too numb to receive what you feel effortlessly. Your emotional capacity isn't a liability, it's a superpower. In a world of disconnect, you feel. In a world of fakes, you're authentic. In a culture that glorifies detachment, you still care. That's not too much. That's medicine. Your presence is a high-frequency disruption to low-vibration systems. That's why they labeled you, controlled you, tried to shrink you. But here's what they didn't count on. You stopped apologizing. You stopped asking for permission to be what you already are. And now, your intensity isn't something you hide. It's your brand, your fire, your shield. It's the exact energy needed to dismantle the shallow, awaken the numb, and crack open the people still sleepwalking through their lives. You were never too much. You were just too real for people still addicted to the lie. Number 9. This wasn't a dream you chased. It was a soul contract you signed in blood. You didn't just wake up chosen. You were born with the target already on your back. This assignment on your life wasn't a cute calling, a feel-good epiphany, or some spark you stumbled into on a slow Tuesday afternoon. No. This was deeper than purpose. This was predestined warfare. This was a contract. A soul-level agreement made long before your first breath, long before you had words, long before you could even understand what resilience meant. And that's why the battles came early. While other kids played, you were surviving. While others were protected, you were prepared. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every rejection, they weren't random. They were clauses in the contract. Your soul didn't come here to live soft. It came here to transform systems, break cycles, and carry weight that would shatter most people's minds. You ever wonder why your life's been one plot twist after another? Why it felt like the world came for you before you even had a name for the pain? It's because you weren't just called, you were commissioned. There's a difference. A calling waits for volunteers. A contract requires completion. This is why quitting never worked for you. Every time you tried to shrink, something yanked you back into alignment. Every time you tried to play small, life dragged you into uncomfortable growth. You couldn't run from it even when you begged for rest, because purpose didn't knock on your door politely. It kicked it in. And let's be honest, there were moments you hated it. You resented the pressure, the isolation, the silent wars. You looked around and saw people coasting through life while you were bleeding through lessons that felt carved in stone. But deep down, you knew. You always knew. You were different. You were drafted into something most people couldn't even carry for a day. Look at people like Maya Angelou, born into trauma, shaped by pain, but assigned to truth. She didn't stumble into greatness. Her life was her contract. Her words were weapons, just like yours. You didn't choose this, your soul did. And because of that, the universe holds you to a higher standard. The path is lonelier, the wounds are deeper, but the impact unmatched. So no, this wasn't just a calling, it was an ancient agreement, a spiritual oath. And every battle you've survived has only confirmed one thing. You've kept your end of the deal, and now the world has to answer to you. Number 10. You mastered what others couldn't even understand. Power without performance. The loudest one in the room is usually the weakest. Real power doesn't flex, it just moves. Let them talk, let them brag, let them post every achievement like their soul depends on it. You moved in silence. You didn't need the spotlight to validate your strength, because your strength was never about performance. It was about presence. You've walked through storms they wouldn't survive, and yet you never needed to scream about it. That's not passivity, That's discipline. That's spiritual mastery. While others chased recognition, you chose restraint. Not because you lacked power, but because you understood it. You understood that ego is the leash that drags most people into chaos. You didn't need to prove your worth to people who never saw their own. You didn't need to out-talk anyone. Your energy already spoke volumes. You were calm, not because life was easy, but because you made a decision. Chaos doesn't get to decide your frequency. That's not weakness. That's training. You've been underestimated because you didn't broadcast your battles. You were called too quiet, too distant, too detached. But what they didn't know was that silence was your strategy. You weren't hiding, you were observing. While they were speaking to be seen, you were listening to understand. While they were performing, you were preparing. Think about Bruce Lee, humble, focused, never loud, but always dangerous. He once said, "The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus." That's you. Every ounce of your humility was a blade sharpened in private. And let's be real, ego wanted to talk. It wanted to clap back. It wanted to flaunt receipts and scream your truth. But you chose mastery. You chose to sit in rooms full of noise and still hold your peace. You chose to carry power that didn't depend on applause. They mistook that for weakness. Big mistake. Because what they didn't realize is this: your humility wasn't born from fear. It was born from clarity. You knew who you were, so you didn't need to shout it. You've already done what others are still hyping themselves up to try. And that's why your silence intimidates. Because nothing is louder than someone who knows their worth and doesn't need an audience. You didn't just humble yourself, you mastered yourself. And that's a level of power ego will never reach. So stay steady, stay low-key, because while others chase claps, you're building empires in silence. And when it's time, you won't need to announce your arrival. Your presence will do it for you. Number 11, you were born with X-ray vision for a world addicted to illusions. You didn't just see people, you saw the wiring behind their actions, the patterns beneath the smiles, the spirit behind the performance. You were never fooled, not really. Even as a child you knew. You could walk into a room and feel the temperature shift, not from the air, but from the energy. You picked up on tone, silence, body language, and energy before people ever said a word. While others were focused on faces and titles, you were scanning the truth hiding underneath the act. You weren't just reading people, you were decoding systems, invisible structures, emotional blueprints. You saw through things, the dysfunction in families, the hypocrisy in leaders, the masks people wore to survive. You noticed what wasn't said, felt what others numbed, and called out what made others nervous. That wasn't paranoia, that was perception. Your eyes weren't just eyes, they were spiritual scanners. You didn't just feel off about certain people, you sensed spiritual unrest, unspoken resentment, masked manipulation. You weren't reading the words, they were reading you. And they didn't like what you saw because you could see them, the real them, the brokenness, the ego, the lies. That's why they called you too intense. That's why they labeled you dramatic or suspicious. But in reality, you were just the only one awake in a room full of dreamers. Your discernment made people uncomfortable because they couldn't hide around you. You weren't judging them, you were just aware, and awareness is threatening to the unaware. Think of people like Carl Jung, who saw psychology as a gateway to the soul. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's you. You've always seen the unconscious, the cycles, the karma, the patterns no one wanted to name. You saw how energy moves, how pain repeats, how trauma rewrites behavior. You saw spiritual dynamics play out in families, workplaces, relationships, and even if you didn't always have the words for it, you felt it deeply. You've been walking with this gift your whole life, this radar that keeps you ahead of storms and 3 steps ahead of deception. And yes, it's exhausting, seeing too much, feeling too much, knowing things others don't want to admit. But don't doubt it for a second. This is your superpower, not just to protect yourself, but to shift systems, to name what others ignore, to break what others blindly follow. You were born with eyes that don't lie, and that's why the system always feared your sight. Number 12, you did what they prayed you'd fail at, and you did it with them, watching every step. You weren't just rising, you were rising under surveillance, under criticism, under silent curses, and still you didn't fold. Let's not sugarcoat it. You didn't get to grow in peace. You evolved in the middle of a firing squad. Every step you took toward becoming you was being dissected, doubted, and disrespected. They didn't want to see you break. They wanted front row seats when you did. They watched not to witness your rise, but to catch your fall. But guess what? You rose anyway, and not quietly. You rose while being mocked, while being misunderstood, while carrying pain that would have made most people disappear. You were under pressure, and not just life pressure, but human pressure. The weight of expectations, silent betrayals, smirking doubters. You weren't just trying to survive. You were doing it while your name was in mouths that didn't deserve to speak it. They wanted your glow to be store-bought, easy, temporary, filtered, but what they saw was something they couldn't replicate, authentic radiance forged in the heat of spiritual war. Your glow didn't come from lights. It came from fires that didn't kill you. Every scar became fuel. Every doubt became proof. Every attack became strategy. You did the impossible, and you did it publicly. That's not just strength. That's domination. That's poise under pressure. That's carrying divine weight in full view of people who swore you weren't built for it. They whispered, "Who do they think they are?" And the universe replied, "Exactly who you weren't ready for." Remember Serena Williams? They watched her every move, judged her every emotion, criticized her strength, and still she dominated. Think about Nipsey Hussle, building something real in a world that only knew how to fake it, while the world watched. That's what you've done. Your life has been a testimony in real time. No rehearsals, no safety net, just grit, grace, and grind. You didn't rise because you were supported. You rose because you refused to stay low. And that glow they hate, that's prophecy in motion. That's what it looks like when someone fulfills what was written on their soul. You didn't just do it. You did it in front of them. And no applause was needed. Your becoming was the mic drop. So now, when they watch, let them witness what they never believed in. Let them study what they tried to sabotage, because you didn't survive to prove them wrong. You survived to prove yourself inevitable. And now, if you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't just a message. This was confirmation. Everything you've endured, everything you've overcome, wasn't random. It was your soul honoring an ancient assignment that only the chosen can carry. You've done what few even dare to attempt. And now it's your turn to move forward with fire. If this hit your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Press like, hit subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments if you're walking this path with power. Share this with someone who needs the reminder. They weren't broken, they were built.